My mom pointed at me in front of everyone and said, "You've always been a drain. Your sister's the one who actually matters." So I left that night without a word. 6 weeks later, my sister texted, "Why did you stop sending me money?" I just replied, "Didn't want to waste it on someone who already had everything that mattered." Then I watched them learn what missing me really looked like. I, 29M, never thought I'd be writing this, but here I am at 2 a.m., unable to sleep, finally ready to tell this story. 6 months ago, my life completely changed during what was supposed to be a celebration dinner. Now, as I watch the aftermath unfold, I realize sometimes the best revenge is simply stepping away and letting people face the consequences of their choices. The dinner was for my sister's promotion to senior marketing manager. Mom had insisted we all gather at her favorite restaurant to celebrate. I should have known something was off when she kept emphasizing how proud she was of my sister's real accomplishments, while barely acknowledging that I'd just closed the biggest deal of my career as a software consultant. I'd been supporting my family financially for years. After Dad passed when I was 22, I stepped up without question. Monthly transfers to Mom for her mortgage, random emergency funds when her car broke down, and regular money to my sister throughout college and her early career struggles. It wasn't charity to me. It was family obligation, something I did because I loved them. That night, as we sat around the table, Mom raised her glass for a toast. She went on about my sister's achievements, her bright future, how she'd always known she would succeed. Then she turned to me, and something in her expression shifted. Her voice got louder, ensuring nearby tables could hear every word. She pointed directly at me and declared that I'd always been a drain on the family. That my sister was the one who actually mattered, the one with real potential. She said I was just throwing money around to feel important, but that my sister was the one building something meaningful with her life. The restaurant went quiet. I felt every eye in the place on me. My sister sat there, not saying a word, just staring at her plate. She didn't defend me. She didn't tell Mom to stop. She just sat there, letting it happen. I placed my napkin on the table, stood up calmly, and walked out. No dramatic speech, no shouting match, no scene. I simply left. Mom called after me, but I didn't turn around. My sister texted later that night asking if I was okay, but I didn't respond. That was the last time I spoke to either of them. I went home and did something I should have done years earlier. I canceled all the automatic transfers. I removed them both from my emergency contact lists. I changed my address with the bank so statements wouldn't accidentally get sent to Mom's house. I essentially erased myself from their financial lives as cleanly as possible. The first few weeks were strange. I kept expecting angry calls or guilt trips, but nothing came. I realized they probably assumed I was just having a tantrum and would come crawling back eventually. They had no idea I was serious. I threw myself into work with a focus I hadn't felt in years. Without the constant worry about family expenses, I could actually save money and plan for my own future. I started looking at apartments in a better part of town. I bought myself things I'd been putting off for years. For the first time since Dad died, I was living for myself. Week 3 brought the first crack in their confidence. Mom called, but I let it go to voicemail. She left a message saying she hoped I was done with my little rebellion and that we should talk soon. She mentioned something about her mortgage payment being late, but said it in a way that suggested she thought it was just a banking error. I deleted the message without calling back. Week 4 brought more calls, increasingly frantic. Mom left 3 voicemails in one day. The first was annoyed, asking why I wasn't returning her calls. The second was confused, wondering if something was wrong with my phone. The third was worried, asking if I was okay and saying she was concerned about me. Still, I didn't respond. By week 5, my sister started calling too. Her messages were different, less demanding, more pleading. She said she missed talking to me and wanted to know if I was angry about something. She mentioned that Mom seemed stressed lately, but didn't directly connect it to money yet. Week 6 was when reality finally hit them. My sister's text came on a Tuesday morning. "Why did you stop sending me money?" I stared at that message for a long time. No, "How are you?" No, "We miss you." No acknowledgement of what had happened at the restaurant. Just a direct question about money. It told me everything I needed to know about how they really saw me. I typed back. Didn't want to waste it on someone who already had everything that mattered. Her response came immediately. "What's that supposed to mean?" I didn't reply. The flood of messages that followed was almost comical. My sister called 6 times in a row. Mom started texting from my sister's phone when I wouldn't answer hers. They demanded explanations, accused me of being petty, and finally started promising we could work things out if I would just call them back. I blocked both their numbers. Through mutual friends, I started hearing about the chaos I'd left behind. Mom had apparently been living paycheck to paycheck, using my monthly transfers to maintain a lifestyle she couldn't actually afford. Without my money, she was struggling to make her mortgage payments and had to cancel her weekly spa appointments and expensive dinners out. My sister, meanwhile, had been using my regular transfers to supplement her salary, allowing her to live in a trendy downtown apartment and maintain an active social life. Without that extra income, she was facing the choice between moving back home with Mom or finding a cheaper place with roommates. The irony wasn't lost on me. The person Mom had called a drain had actually been the one keeping both of them afloat. 2 months after I'd walked out of that restaurant, I ran into my sister at a coffee shop near my office. She looked tired, stressed in a way I'd never seen before. She approached me cautiously, like I might run away if she moved too fast. She told me she was sorry about what Mom had said. She explained that she'd been too shocked to speak up that night, but that she should have defended me. She said she understood now how much I'd been doing for the family and how wrong it was for Mom to say those things. I listened to her entire apology without saying a word. When she finished, I told her I appreciated her saying that, but that it didn't change anything. She asked what she could do to fix things, and I told her there was nothing to fix. I said I'd simply decided to stop being a drain on the family, just like Mom wanted. She started crying then, saying that wasn't what Mom meant, that they both needed me, that the family was falling apart without me. She begged me to come home for dinner so we could all talk it through. I told her I already had a family dinner planned, with myself. Then I walked away. The 3rd month brought the most desperate attempts yet. Mom showed up at my office building, waiting in the lobby until security asked her to leave. She sent letters to my apartment, long rambling things about family loyalty and forgiveness. She even reached out to my boss, claiming there was a family emergency and she needed to reach me urgently. I had to have HR send her a formal letter requesting that she stop contacting my workplace. My sister tried a different approach. She started posting on social media about family and forgiveness, clearly hoping I'd see the messages and feel guilty. She shared old photos of the 3 of us, writing captions about how much she missed the good times and how family should stick together no matter what. I unfollowed her on all platforms. By month 4, I heard through friends that they'd both had to make major lifestyle changes. Mom had put her house on the market and was looking for something smaller and cheaper. My sister had moved in with 2 roommates and was working extra freelance projects to make ends meet. Part of me felt bad for them, but a larger part felt vindicated. They were finally experiencing what life was like without my financial support, and they clearly didn't like it. The breaking point came during month 5. Mom had a minor medical emergency. Nothing serious, but she needed someone to drive her home from the hospital after a procedure. She'd apparently called me first, forgetting that I'd blocked her number. When she couldn't reach me, she had to call a taxi. My sister texted me from a friend's phone, telling me about Mom's situation and asking how I could be so heartless. She said that no matter what had happened between us, I should still care about Mom's health and safety. That message actually made me angry in a way none of the others had. I'd spent 7 years putting my family's needs before my own, sacrificing my own financial security and personal goals to make sure they were comfortable. And now, after publicly humiliating me and treating me like a burden, they wanted to guilt me about not being available for one afternoon. I didn't respond to that message either. Month 6 brought an unexpected development. I learned that Mom had been telling people in her social circle that I'd abandoned the family over a minor disagreement, and that she couldn't understand how she'd raised such a selfish son. She was painting herself as the victim, claiming I'd cut them off without warning or explanation. That's when I realized she still didn't understand what she'd done wrong. In her mind, she'd simply stated an opinion, and I'd overreacted. She genuinely couldn't see how devastating and humiliating her words had been, or how years of taking my support for granted had led to that moment. I decided it was time to set the record straight. I wrote a letter, not to them, but to my aunt, Mom's sister, who I knew would share it with the rest of the family. In it, I calmly explained what had happened at the restaurant, how I'd been supporting Mom and my sister financially for years, and why I'd decided to step back from the family. I didn't ask for sympathy or support. I simply wanted the truth to be known. The response was swift and dramatic. My aunt called Mom immediately, and apparently there was a significant family confrontation. Other relatives started reaching out to me, expressing shock at what Mom had said and support for my decision. Mom, faced with the reality that her version of events wasn't being accepted by the family, finally sent me a real apology. It was 3 pages long, acknowledging what she'd said, admitting it was wrong, and begging for forgiveness. She promised things would be different if I'd give her another chance. But by then, it was too late. I'd spent 6 months building a new life, one where I wasn't constantly worried about other people's financial problems or walking on eggshells around family members who saw me as an obligation rather than a person. I wrote back to Mom, telling her I accepted her apology, but that I wouldn't be resuming our previous relationship. I explained that I needed to focus on my own life and goals, and that I hoped she and my sister would find a way to build the independence they should have developed years ago. Now, 6 months later, I'm in a completely different place. I've moved to a beautiful apartment downtown. I'm saving more money than I ever thought possible. I'm dating someone who values me for who I am, not what I can provide. I've started taking photography classes, something I'd always wanted to do, but never had time for when I was managing everyone else's crises. My sister has apparently found her footing too. She got a second job and moved to a smaller but nicer apartment. From what I hear, she's actually doing well, maybe better than she was when she was depending on my money. It turns out she's more capable than any of us realized. Mom sold her house and moved to a smaller place, but she's managing her finances better now. She's had to give up some luxuries, but she's not struggling the way she was in those first few months. Sometimes I wonder if I was too harsh, if I should have given them a chance to make things right sooner. But then I remember that night at the restaurant, the way Mom's words felt like a physical blow, the way my sister sat silent while I was humiliated in public. I think about all the years I spent putting their needs first, all the opportunities one passed up because I was too busy being the family safety net. I think about how they never once asked if I was okay, if I needed help, if supporting them was creating stress in my own life. The truth is, walking away was the best thing I ever did for myself. It forced me to build a life based on my own values and goals rather than other people's expectations. It taught me that love shouldn't come with a price tag, and that real family members don't keep score of what you've done for them. I don't hate my mother or my sister. I hope they're happy and successful in their new lives. But I also don't miss the constant pressure of being responsible for their financial stability. I don't miss the guilt trips when I wanted to spend money on myself. I don't miss being taken for granted. They learned what missing me really looked like, and honestly, so did I. I learned that I'm worth more than the money I can provide, that my value as a person isn't measured by my willingness to sacrifice for others, and that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back and let people learn to stand on their own. I still get the occasional message from extended family members asking if I'm ready to reconcile, but I'm not interested in going backward. I've built something good here, something that's mine, and I'm not willing to risk it for people who only valued me when I was useful to them. Maybe that makes me selfish. Maybe I should be more forgiving. But for the first time in my adult life, I'm truly happy, and that has to count for something. The best revenge, I've learned, isn't elaborate schemes or dramatic confrontations. Sometimes it's just walking away and building a better life without the people who didn't appreciate you. Sometimes it's letting them face the natural consequences of their choices while you focus on your own growth and happiness. I'm not the drain my mother called me that night. I never was. I was the foundation that kept their lives stable, and when I removed myself, they had to learn to build their own foundations. In the end, that was probably the best thing I could have done for all of us.